make about 45 million pounds of chips in a quarter. That equates to about 200 million pounds of potatoes, which is quite a few. What's interesting with M&T is they were a small town bank, and as we've grown, they've also grown with us. They've got the resources that you would need in order to go big, but they also have that friendly local community feel so that it makes it seem easier than it probably is.
Hello, and welcome to Candidates Up Front. This program gives voters information directly from the candidates they'll be voting on in the May 18th municipal primary election. This program is a joint project of the League of Women Voters of Berks County and Berks Community Television. Both are nonpartisan organizations. Neither ever supports or proposes political parties nor candidates. The office we're featuring today is Reading City Council. Council members act on legislation, they set the budget, they confirm appointments of the city manager and members of boards. They must live in their district for 1 year prior to the primary election and must retain residency in their district during their term. They serve part-time for a 4-year term, and the salary is $5,000 a year. Now, Democratic voters will select one of 2 candidates in District 1, which is Southwest Running, and one of 2 candidates in District 2, which is Southeast Reading. The 2 candidates in District 1 are Hector Ruiz, and Brianna Tyson. The 2 candidates in District 4 are Wesley Butler and Mamoru Stratton. They will be asked the same questions in the same order with the same general time limit. Each candidate's views are their own, and not those of the League or BCTV. Today, our candidate is Brianna Tyson. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And please tell us why you want to serve on City Council, and what are your qualifications for this position?
The reason I want to serve on City Council is simply because I believe in my community. My community, especially District 1, has a lot of potential, but unfortunately, we're not seeing that growth at this time. As for qualifications, well, I've been active in my community for 4+ years, whether it's serving, with other organizations to do community cleanups. As well, I've worked with Planned Parenthood, Make It the Road, and some other organizations in order to improve the overall health of Reading. It's inherent for me that we have people on the City Council board that represent the demographic of Reading. So these are the reasons why that I'm running. These are the reasons I'm running, and I believe that I can. I believe that I can change how our community is reviewed, and I can also push us to the next platform.
What kind of special training, if any, do you think a person should have to serve on City Council? And let's take a full minute to talk about that.
You should be a person of the people. When I look at the community, it's a community that has so many different individuals. And actually, Muhammad Ali said that service that you do for others is your rent for the time that you spend here on Earth, which is why I have gone ahead and supported my community for about 4 years now, because I believe that I have to know who I'm supporting before I'm ready to serve.
What are the most important concerns of the people who live in your district? And take a minute and a half again.
My community wants prosperity. when I look at my community and when I've talked to them, it's the same thing. What they want is cleanups around the community. There's so much trash and littering. They want to feel safe. They want to know that they can go outside when the weather is nice and be protected. They want to make sure that their kids have the opportunity to grow, and it's the same thing that I want for my brothers and sisters.
What do you think are the most important issues that City Council will have to address in the next year? And again, you have a full minute and a half.
That's pretty easy, actually. It's just going back to community cleanups, getting rid of the trash and littering that's in the community, making sure that the kids are safe, making sure that the parents and the people who live here are safe.
What can the city do to encourage economic development to create more jobs?
We have to allow investors back into the community, whether that's outside of investors outside of Reading or if it's people who live in the city. In order for us to grow, that's the key to prosperity.
What can the city do to decrease crime, especially violent crime, and make the city safer?
We need better relations with the police. In order for the community to feel safe, we have to make sure that the people who are protecting us also feel safe and are able to show up at things like parks, community events, where their face is recognizable to the crowd. And therefore, the kids feel like they can go to people in authority.
Do you favor increasing the size of the police force?
I'm
Please
not-
explain your answer.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm not sure if increasing is the way to go because right now, Reading is still in Act 47, even though we're gradually getting out of Act 47. I think that it's important to focus on city waste. If we don't prepare ourselves in the future, we won't be able to afford the police that we have now or increase surveillance. So I'm not sure if that is the best route. I definitely think that people in the community have to take a more active role.
What can the city do to improve parking? One concerned citizen told the League, private companies enforcing parking fines are the worst.
And I agree. I've had, my own opinion on the Reading Parking Authority, but I also believe that Reading is a growing community, so we have to build that bridge with the Reading Parking Authority as well, whether that's off-street parking or making it some type of arrangement where people can pay their fines in smaller amounts. But that's definitely something that I'm very passionate about.
Reading is known for double-parked cars. What should be done to open city streets to moving traffic?
The only thing that I can think that we could do is to provide off-street parking to community residents.
There are patches of deteriorating houses in Reading. What can be done to strengthen code enforcement to limit urban blight?
The only way to cure this is to make sure that we provide a safer Reading and to provide activities and interests that bring people into Reading. I firmly believe that when the people of Reading have pride in their community, it makes things so much easier. A lot of the topics that we're discussing will dissolve or be reduced once we uplift the people in the community.
How will you establish a good working relationship with the mayor, the managing director, and all the executive departments in the city?
I actually feel like I already have that working relationship, or should I say I have an established relationship with these representatives. It's important that we all sit at the same table and discuss how we can push Reading to the next step. I've been working in the community for 4+ years now, establishing those bonds, which is one of the reasons why I feel like I'm a perfect person for District 1.
And how will you encourage public participation in issues being decided by the City Council?
It's important that we provide the people in our community with the resources and tools to know what's going on. So whether that's making sure that City Council is available to the residents through Zoom, like we have been doing because of COVID, or that they're updating their Facebook on a regular basis. I'll take every opportunity that I get to basically shout from the rooftops all the things that City Council is going to do. That way, we can get a fair understanding.
And we do have plenty of time, so feel free to slow down and give a full answer for us. What 3 things do you want to accomplish if you're elected?
I want to take care of the city waste. In our community, we have the chance to provide a better future for our children. And right now, I don't see that. There's so much trash in my district, unfortunately. And, I went around and I've spoken with residents, and I've talked about having community cleanups once a week where we have maybe one person in charge so that every block is having these constant cleanups, which we will work with Public Works with. I want to look at the budget, the city budget. I guarantee you that we would be able to provide more to the city if we highlight what is going to waste in our community. The third thing that I would look towards is programs and initiatives for our Reading youth. The children of Reading deserve the opportunity to grow and advance. There's so many people in the community who want to do good, but we need to start having residents represent our community.
And tell us what your position is on funding for the Reading Public Library.
I'm a huge advocate for the Reading Public Library. I've gone to the Reading Public Library my whole life, since I was a little kid. I went to the Northwest Middle one. I went to the Northeast, the Southern, and now that I live a couple blocks from the big library, actually, it's funny that you would say that because I was there earlier today. I believe that we need to see what kind of grants and federal funding we can get for the community and for the Reading Public Library.
Now, the city operates parks and playgrounds, and there was talk some time ago about transferring the responsibility for the operational things to the County of Berks. Would you give us your feelings on that?
I think we should do what's best for the community. The parks, as they are sufficient, but if there is an option to make it safer, maybe more funding, I would be all for it.
Now, our neighborhoods, and you have talked about this before, are the lifeblood of the city. How would you encourage residents to rebuild their own neighborhoods? And would you provide tax dollars for neighborhood projects?
Yes. So I do think that we should provide tax dollars into making Reading look better. The beautification of Reading is going to take all hands on deck. One of the things that I'm passionate about is community cleanup. So with that being said, I think that it's a good idea that we have residents in the neighborhood come out each week and do a community cleanup. I see small groups of people in the community who will do this, but it would be so much better if it was a whole neighborhood and not just on the shoulders of one person.
Now, we have ample time left for you to make a closing statement, however long you need to make it, because there's plenty of time left. And perhaps you can tell us about some of the community activities you have been doing as part of that statement, so we know what you're talking about when you say you've been active for all this time.
Thank you. So, some of the organizations that I've worked with, which are Planned Parenthood Votes, Make the Road, I've also had been a co-host on the Dear Reading podcast, which highlights the youth in our community. So, what has prepared me? These organizations have prepared me in order to take care of my community. Um, to be frank, I'm super passionate on community cleanups because I live in a district where there is it's horrendous. There's so much trash. And unfortunately, I feel like, it takes a team of people to make a city better. The three things that I'm passionate about are simply the youth, the Reading youth, our city budget, and economic development.
And are there other things you'd like to say for your close? Because you've got plenty of time left here.
I'm a person of few words. I believe that action speaks louder. What I want to say to the residents of Reading, and especially my district, District 1, is that if you vote for me, I promise to make Reading a better place. I promise to do all that I can in order for us to succeed. I want to make sure that not only myself, but the youth, the elderly, all have the chance to have prosperity.
Thank you. It's Brianna Tyson, and she's talking about her qualifications and her philosophy to be a Reading City Council member. I'm going to say, viewers, that you need to remember that the municipal primary election is May 18th. To vote in that election, you must be registered by May 3rd. And the polls are open if you're going to your polling place from 7 in the morning till 8 at night. And you may vote at that polling place, or you may vote by absentee or mail-in ballot. And the last day to apply for one of these paper ballots is May 11th. And all paper ballots must be returned to the County Board of Elections by 8 p.m. on Election Day. There'll be no extension this spring. It's going to be by Election Day, 8 o'clock. Your ballot must be there. Now, we've talked about this as a municipal primary election. A municipal election is when we select candidates for local office as well as state judges. It is a big election, and it's probably the most important election as to how we govern ourselves locally. We are voting in this election for school directors, and the major tax we pay is the tax for education. And so if we want good schools, if we care about what's happening in the schools, it's essential that we vote in the municipal election. The same is true about judges and many of the other races, and I'll be going over all of those in just a moment. And this year there's something additional on our ballot. There are 3 proposed amendments to our Pennsylvania Constitution, and all voters are encouraged to vote on these. You do not need to be a member of a political party to vote on our Constitution. So if you're an independent, if you're a Green, a Libertarian, you put down no party, whatever you did, you're a registered voter, please come out and vote on the constitutional questions. And League of Women Voters Presents, which is a regular program here on BCTV, will be doing a special program the second Tuesday of April. It's 8 o'clock is our time slot, and we'll be discussing those questions with some experts to help us walk them through them so that you know exactly what you're voting for when you go to vote on those. But I should note that to vote for the candidates, like the one you've heard today or in other candidates' upfront interviews, you must be a Democrat or a Republican. This is a primary election, and that is when those parties select their candidates. Now, we have a lot of things on the ballot. I mentioned statewide judges, and I have found a lot of people are mystified by what all these different court names mean, so I'm going to do some explaining. We'll be voting for one justice of the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is similar to the U.S. Supreme Court, but it's just for the state of Pennsylvania. It writes rules for courts, for judges, for court attorneys, and it's the final court of appeal and hears 3,000 appeals yearly. Clearly, they're very busy. It's also the oldest in the entire United States. It was established in 1784. We'll also be voting for the courts. There are two courts under it at the state level. One is called the Superior Court, and we'll be voting for one judge there. This court hears cases on appeal. They usually use a 3-judge panel, and the panels tend to meet in Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, and Philadelphia, and it has 14 judges and 5 senior judges. And then there's one court that is unique to Pennsylvania. We're the only state that has it. It's called the Commonwealth Court, and we'll be voting for 2 judges to serve on that court. This court hears matters involving state and local governments and regulatory agencies. It has 9 judges and 3 senior judges. So if you have an issue with a department within the state, you're mad at PennDOT or something and you sue PennDOT, that case is going to go to the Commonwealth Court. And we're all upset about all the potholes, though. I don't think it would be possible for any agency to keep up with them, my personal opinion. We'll be voting for 2 judges of the Court of Common Pleas for Berks County. And these are our local trial courts. Berks is considered one district in the state, and we have 13 local judges. We'll be voting for 2. There are also 6 magisterial districts in our county. Well, no, there's more than 6. There are 18 within the county, and 6 of them have judges coming up for election. These judges serve a 6-year term, whereas the others serve a 10-year term. So the magisterial courts are the first court people usually come into. They set and accept bail in a criminal case, and they hold preliminary hearings. They're the ones who decide if there's enough evidence in a criminal case for it to move up to the Court of Common Pleas. And these courts also deal with traffic tickets, landlord-tenant issues, and small claims. So if you feel somebody gypped you out of some money up to $12,000, you would take that case to a magisterial court. And you should note that on your ballot, some judges will be up for retention. As I said, judges serve a 10-year term, and then instead of running for a re-election, they're on the ballot unopposed. Voters may choose to retain them for another 10 years by voting yes, or they may vote no and put that judge out of office. Now, also on the ballot are 3 county officers. The county treasurer, that's the one who brings in all the money, who receipts the money, and issues the checks. And the treasurer is largely in charge of the investment portfolio. There's another office not up this time, which is the controller, which is the bill-paying part. So the treasurer has to make sure there's enough money for the controllers, all the bills that need to be paid that week. We're also electing a coroner, and the coroner is the one who deals with unexpected and deaths where there's a chance that there was some crime committed. We're also electing a prothonotary, and nobody knows what that means but it is a super notary is the way to think of it. So it's somebody who keeps records for the civil courts. And within each precinct, we're also electing a constable. Now, we have 18 school districts in Berks County, and Democrats and Republicans will select candidates for school boards for 2- and 4-year terms. Some districts select their boards at large, and some by regions. And in the city of Reading, voters will choose candidates for council president and city council members in districts 1, 4, and 5, and we heard one of those candidates today. In townships, voters will select commissioners or supervisors and auditors and tax collectors. And in boroughs, they will select mayors, council members, auditors, and tax collectors. I told you this was a big election. There will be a lot on your ballot. Now, candidates for judge and school director may cross-file. That means they may run as both Democrats and Republicans. Now, to vote, you must be registered, as I said, by May 3rd. If you want to check your registration status, or if you want to register, or if you want to request a mail-in ballot, go to votespa.com. That's VOTESPA.com. And for information on ballot questions or on the races that are on your particular ballot, you want to see who's running, go to vote411.org. That's VOTE411.org. And if you prefer to get this information by talking to a live person, that option is available in Berks County. Our Berks County Election Services would be pleased to answer all your questions, and they can do so in English or in Spanish. So if you are more comfortable in Spanish, call and ask for the Spanish person on staff, and you will get the answers you need in the language you are comfortable with. Now, the phone number for Election Services is 610-478-6490. That's 610-478-6490. And Election Services can send you the application for an absentee or a mail-in ballot. And as I said, there's probably no question on the election that they can't answer. A really superb staff. And please continue to watch BCTV for more candidate upfront interviews. We are bringing you interviews with all the candidates who are in contested races. And we'll also have that program on the second Tuesday at 8 o'clock on the constitutional amendments that will be on your ballot. For the League of Women Voters, I'm Judith Cranis. Good day.
We make about 45 million pounds of chips in a quarter. That equates to about 200 million pounds of potatoes, which is quite a few. What's interesting with M&T is they're a small town bank, and as we've grown, they've also grown with us. They've got the resources that you would need in order to go big, but they also have that friendly local community feel so that it makes it seem easier than it probably is.